to another episode of Talking Terror. I am your host, Jacob Harper, and thank you for joining me for another episode. On today's episode, I am joined by the lovely Olga Turka. She was the production and costume designer on Terrifier 2 and 3. As you know, I am a huge fan of the Terrifier franchise, so it was an absolute blast to sit down and nerd out with her about it. We got some great viewer submitted questions. We got some just great back and forth on a lot of different topics, not just Terrifier, but we do go on some different tangents, which was really fun. But we do really get into the nitty gritty on Terrifier 2 and 3, the ins and outs of the production and costume design on that. So I'm very excited for y'all to check that out. I even wore my. I'm recording this the same day I did the podcast, but I'm wearing my Terrifier 3 shirt from Terra Threads. Shout out to Terra Threads. They don't sponsor me. That's just a shout out because I love their shirts. But before we get into that, I do want to touch on our good friends over at Fangoria. As you guys know, I am a Fangoria affiliate, which means you support the show, you support them, I get a little something out of it, and you get some Fangoria swag in your life, which everyone needs a little bit of Fangoria swag in their life. I have with me two Fangorias to show y'all. First of all, I showed this, I believe, on the last episode, the solo episode, but it is my latest Fangoria subscriber issue. You have that beautiful Nosferatu cover with Bill Skarsgård as Count Orlok. You have some great advertisements for the monkey, which I just went and saw the monkey today after my interview. It was an awesome, fun little film. You got Terrifier 3 right there. Look at that. I knew I made the right decision bringing this one out. And I got this one. Bit of a throwback. This one is from 2020, and it's just got Christmas horror as kind of the theme. And I thought that was kind of cute because Terrifier 3 is obviously a Christmas horror film. I don't believe this was a subscriber issue, though. It might not be. I think this is the one you can just pick up at the store. But nonetheless, very cool magazine. I love reading my Fangorias, busting them out, giving them a little bit of a skim through every so often. They have some of the best writing articles for Fangoria. Great, articles, interviews, everything. It's just, I can't speak highly of them enough. And if you've been tuning into the podcast, you know the drill. You could use my discount code Jacob the Harper. That's JACOB THEHERPER for 20% off an entire online order, or a one-time subscription. If you're not already subscribed, you get really dope subscriber covers like this one. But if you are subscribed already, you could use that discount code for an online order and get yourself some Fangoria swag. They have great T-shirts, hats. They have like these really cool like book covers or like binders that you can put your magazines in to keep them in good condition. Very important to keep them in good condition. I've had one or two kind of crease on me a little bit. It's not fun, but with the Fangoria kind of book covers, you could have your magazines safe and sound and securely protected, which is always the best way to do it. So if you are already subscribed and you don't want to use my discount code to resubscribe or anything, you could use that towards some dope Fangoria merchandise. There's no shortage of it over on their website, which I will link down below. And once again, you could use my discount code Jacob the Harper. That's JACOB THEHERPER to get that 20% off an entire online order or an entire one-time subscription if you're not already subscribed. But going further into my guest today, like I said, Olga Turka, really awesome person. I mean, really, she was such a treat to talk to. We both just nerded out over not just Terrifier, but we got into talking about John Waters and David Lynch for a little while. We got some great viewer submitted questions, which, by the way, shameless plug. Be sure to follow my social medias. I do call outs for fan questions to get asked on the show all the time. Sorry if you hear that. That's my PlayStation in the background. But yeah, I do. Requests for fan submitted questions all the time over on my social medias, such as my Twitter, which is at Jacob at the Movie, and my Instagram, Jacob the Harper, which you can follow, and I post things on there. you want to see my day-to-day life talking about film, horror, all that jazz, or just my day-to-day life. Day-to-day life stuff is more so on Instagram, but sometimes on Twitter as well. I'm very active on Twitter. Sadly, I am sadly very active on Twitter. But yeah, I do a lot of posts regarding not just to the show, but just horror in general. I do a lot of posts on there about that sort of topic. So if you're not already, be sure to follow the social medias. And again, every time I have a guest, I always ask for viewer submitted questions to see what the people want to hear. I don't want to just be me talking. I want y'all to have your answers, your questions answered as well. My goodness, I cannot talk today. But without further ado, welcome Olga Turka to Talking Terror. Thanks, guys. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Talking Terror. I am your host, Jacob Harper, and today I am joined by Olga Turka. Olga did the production and costume design for Terrifier 2 and 3, and I'm so stoked to have her on the show.
Oh, thank you. It's an honor to be here. So,
Well, thank you. Thank you. Um, So to start, as we were just talking before, I love the Terrifier films. Terrifier 1, 2, and 3. I think they're all great. I think Terrifier 3 really was like the peak of it. I mean, I feel like that's not such a hot take these days. It dominated the box office. I believe it's the first film in the franchise to not have to be crowdfunded.
yeah,
Because the Terrifier shorts, Terrifier 1 and Terrifier 2 were all done via crowdfunding. I think this was the first like independently financed or rather like studio backed film in the franchise. So obviously you had a little more to play with.
yeah,
And so you came in for Terrifier 2.
yes.
How familiar were you with the franchise when you were brought in? Like, had you seen the original beforehand? Did you know what you were getting into?
No, I had absolutely never like heard of Terrifier before. A good dear friend of mine, Anthony Giordano, he's an FX designer and also teaches FX. And he was talking to Damien, and Damien had said he was looking for a costume designer, and he put me in touch with him. So like once I started talking to him, I watched the first one, and mind you, like I am a horror fan, but more like psychological horror. Think like Shining, Silence of the Lambs, things like that.
Right.
And I've never watched anything like Terrifier. And I kind of grew up like scared of this kind of like over excessive gore kind of stuff. So I was screaming my head off. I couldn't believe what I was watching. And then I also read the script for Terrifier 2. Uh, and my jaw dropped. Like I was like, wow, this is like quite the canvas. And in talking with Damien, this is a fun story that I share in many interviews, but I declined the job twice because the budget was so low that it really wasn't feasible at the time for me to like pay bills with the budget, and then also like the scale of everything and how many things we had to do on the tiny budget we had. But thankfully he called a third time and we worked it out that I could like work commercials and things while I was filming. But many of you may know that Terrifier 2 was made with a core crew of 9 people.
Mm.
So I had done both the costume and the set design, which is a lot for one person, but luckily like we were all helping each other out, especially Jackie, the makeup person. So that's like the short version of the story of how I ended up where with Terrifier and Damien.
I mean, I think what's most surprising about that is that you aren't a huge like gore and grindhouse era horror person because I mean I was rewatching Terrifier 2 and 3 last night and I was looking into like the background and some of the costume and set pieces and I was like this just fits the aesthetic. So I mean you fit it like a glove.
Oh, thank you so
That's why
much.
I was so shocked that you're not a fan of that sort of style.
No, but like what it did, and this is like something I do on any set, no matter the story, is that Damien was an incredible teacher to me of all the things that he loves. Like, and we aligned in so many ways. Like, we both love 80s aesthetics and we both love
Mhm.
80s music. And while we were like vibing out in Phil Falcone's basement and like all like working on costumes and FX and all these things, we had a lot of common interests, and we often talked about how to build this world and flesh it out and what Sienna's room would look like and like what things she would be into and talking to Lauren about those things. So also any director I work with, I always ask for a bit of homework to learn their story, like their style and stuff. So besides the films they've done, like what are your favorite films or what films would you recommend for me to do as homework for this? So he had made me watch Texas Chainsaw Massacre and like all these things. So I really researched a lot of this kind of uh vibe, and honestly like it was the greatest crash course in this kind of world, and being on the set with this like caliber of special effects and everything is really just an honor, and it's so much fun even though it's incredibly, I don't want to front, like it's incredibly hard and incredibly grueling to make.
Right.
Like it's quite the honor to see this in person too. So and when you see it on the screen, it's like, oh, all that was worth it, you know.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, 100%. I mean that's good that you were asking for, because first off, I love Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That's like dream
I me
homework.
too. Now I do too.
Someone tells me watch Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I'm like, oh, no. Seen it 20 times already. Maybe do
You're no
it.
friend of mine.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what, okay, so you talk about, from the beginning, Sienna's room, and I mean, you guys are all very big fans of 80s aesthetic, 80s music, 80s style. And while I was watching Terrifier 2, from the moment we meet Sienna, there's some cool like 80s synth playing. She's designing this costume. What were the key elements that you, Damien, and Lauren talked about getting into that opening scene to nail down who Sienna is as a character? Because it's a very good opening scene for her, and I'm curious what the process was in building that and building the iconography for that character.
So one thing that Damien led the foundation of that room on is like he really saw like hot pink and teal in the room, and he had picked out this like beautiful wallpaper with like these almost like metallic branches and stuff like that. So it was really fun to see it as sort of this enchanted forest or something like that. I just love that, especially because she was into fantasy and cosplay and things like that. And we had no money or no budget. So what I did was I brought a lot of stuff from my own studio, my own room, Jackie had brought stuff from her house and her friends' houses. But it was really important to me that she had like this really realistic workstation, because any like most artists I know, not all, but most artists I know, me and Damien especially, are incredibly messy and like you have like 10 works in progress on your table and everything else. So like I made sure that it had a little bit of that reality to the desk and everything when she was working on her costume. um and Lauren, like, like Lauren, Damien, and I, like, we all were like sharing all types of music that we would be into. We really love the idea of this collage above her desk, and really bringing in elements that, like I used to collage when I'd cut up magazines, because back in the 90s and stuff, magazines were huge. I would cut and collage these things. So it was just really like, it was really a fun process to develop more and more of what Sienna's into. And, it was just that is like a favorite room of mine for sure.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. And like I said, it's such a good like opening scene for that character. You learn so much about Sienna and who she is before we even hear like a line of dialogue from her, and so it gets the point across. So it was cool that you, Damien, and Lauren had that collaboration to make that happen.
Oh, thank you. And that really means so much that you say that, because it's really important to me to try to convey a bit of storytelling in the environment, but at the same time also having the actor believe the space as well. So Lauren really felt at home there as Sienna, and that is the greatest honor to me, especially that you also noticed it.
Oh, for sure, for sure. And I definitely get the having the realistic messy desk. If you could see my desk right now, I'm recording this on. It's a disaster state. But
Oh,
but
this
yeah.
this
So
iPad is strategically placed so you don't see that right now.
I like the realism to real artists there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. All artist to artist. It just means we're creative. That's all.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah. Kind of following that scene, a few minutes later, we enter the dream sequence, which brings us to one of the most iconic locations in the franchise now, and it's definitely become kind of a fan favorite piece of iconography. Was the clown cafe in Sienna's dream sequence. So I was wondering, can you walk me through kind of the process in making that specific set piece?
So Damien and Phil sort of set the foundation of that space in the barn that Phil owns upstate, where we filmed Sienna's room, Allie's room, and that space. So that was a set that had been built, and it really was a coming together of people bringing in pieces. We had someone do the mural in the background and things like that, but we definitely wanted to add these elements of like carnival. Like I grew up by the Seaside Boardwalk in New Jersey, so there's it's hard to see because it's very quick, but like those clown faces where you shoot the water in,
Hmm.
it's like very subtle in the background. There's like the flags, and we like really wanted to make sure that there was this like surrealist line of all the passengers like boarding to nowhere, like they have the luggage and passports and things like in line for the food. The swing set was brought in, and it was fun to make these adults dress as children because for me, I work a lot of children's commercials, so it was kind of this like haha revenge, like like to use these brands that I typically use in children's commercials, but kind of make it like super quirky and things like that.
Yeah.
So I wanted to make sure, like, out of all the spaces in the film, like this was like the most colorful, and like sometimes to me like that juxtaposition between super colorful and super like demented is like the most fun because it's like it's like festive and fun and colorful, and then it's like mass murder.
Yeah, exactly. And I love that design choice in a lot of horror films.
Mhm.
And that's another reason why I love Terrifier 3 so much, because I love a good Christmas horror film.
Yes, that was
Uh,
so much fun, that canvas, because yeah, we really enjoyed that also.
oh yeah. And I have a whole set of notes on Terrifier 3 we're gonna get into, so I'm gonna
Oh
put a
yeah,
pin in that.
let's do it. I'm here.
Hell yeah. And I wanted to also on the Clown Cafe, because you mentioned the costuming for the adults slash kids on the playground. So it kind of gave me kind of a 1950s, 1960s sort of style of the outfits they were wearing. So I was curious what the thought process was with that, or if that was like an intentional thing, or if I'm just
Well, I don't know. I was just like thinking if they were in a children's show, like what they would be wearing. And obviously, like, most of these are like very bright colors and like print,
right.
things like that. But when I was looking through reference for like making a collage and mood board for these things, I was like, especially Sienna's character, I really like foresaw some like quirky, weird hairstyle. And there's a lot of braids in her warrior costume. So I was like, but what if we make the braids like Pippi Longstocking and stuff?
Mhm.
So I always like come up with these crazy hair ideas, and then Jackie also brings in her artistry to create them, and I always challenge her. Of course, she's like, "Of course, it can't be something easy." So I just love adding these like little bits of surrealism and stuff like that. So maybe it's like outfits that children would wear, but styled in a way that's a little quirky and weird, and it just goes with all the actions and behaviors in that scene.
Oh yeah, it's one of my favorite scenes in the franchise. I mean
Me
that.
too. And it was actually one of the most fun to make of too, which was incredibly grueling, but it was so fun to have all these extras, and everybody was just in a good mood. And it was actually the last thing we filmed right before the lockdown. So
Oh
it was just
really?
like we went from this like group of 30 people to like, seclusion. So
Yeah. I didn't know it was last single film before lockdown. That's crazy.
yeah.
Yeah. Why I love so much about this scene. I mean, there's a million things I love about it, but it's also the first time we see Art since. I mean, there's like the opening, but it's like he's back. It's like that's a cool reintroduction to the character when he pops out of that window and then
Yeah.
blasts everyone with a Tommy gun.
Yes, yes. Oh my gosh, that was so much fun.
Such a cool scene. Um, so one thing about Terrifier 2, it's kind of made its way into my seasonal Halloween movie rotation. I have a
Um,
list of movies I have to watch every October, and Terrifier 2 has become one of those movies I have to watch. Terrifier 1 and 2, but Terrifier 2 just like oozes that like fun Halloween party type of vibe. And specifically with like the costumes that everyone's wearing. And Sienna's angel costume has become kind of a staple of her character, the sort of like guardian angel, but like badass type of
yes,
thing.
yes.
So what was you and Damien, and I'm assuming Lauren was also involved in collaborating with that as well. What was y'all's process in making that costume and how it's
So
kind of taken on a life of its own?
so Damien like really does know like the foundations of what he wants. So he had like a mocked up drawing that ended up being like one of the posters or something of a girl like kind of crouched down in this costume on top of pumpkins, like if you see that poster. So he
Mm,
had showed me that. But in order to create it, we had like a cosplayer create like basically the foundation of the piece. And to be honest, the costume was a complete nightmare in many ways because
mm,
it was created, you know, like we had a very small budget. So it was created, painted, and like, even though Damien had the foundation of what he wanted, I think I brought the finesse to the costume where I brought in the ideas and collaboration with him of having it tri-colored, having the stripes on her eye and her arm, and the braids in her hair and the trinkets coming. Because I literally used to wear my hair like that back in the day.
oh
So,
wow.
like, um, but I was just thinking in terms of like Valkyrie, Warrior, like all these things. And you know, the styling with the wedge heels and then these like things, the shin guards and everything. It was just like it flowed really well. And we had like a test day where she tried on the thing. We're seeing where we need to add more, like where we added the ring right above her belly button, and like, you know, all these little details that we really like try to focus on. Um, and you know, it really helped to have Jackie hair and makeup have her artistry on board too, to create that haircut, because that's not easy. Like I think this was her
Right.
first job out of school, and I'm like, hey, can you do this like super really hard hairstyle on both Sienna and Kaylee by yourself, like on Brooke. So she killed it, and it was just this like, you know, meant to be thing, and it just really looks amazing on camera. And
Oh yeah.
what that costume is a nightmare because like it kept falling apart. Like a cosplay costume is not meant to go through stunts and things like this. So there, that by the end, that thing had been repainted so many times. We had so many artist hands on it, repainting it, that just duct taped together by the end. We had Phil and Damien had created a rubber mold of it for the water tank scene to make sure that it could like withstand all the water pressure and everything.
Yeah.
It's like if people really saw the behind the scenes, it's crazy. But like, you know, the whole point of what we do is just to make sure it looks great on camera. So, and Super Trooper Lauren wearing that insane costume that was like falling apart at the seams the whole time, probably.
Oh yeah.
But she really is a trooper, and she like hardly complains. Like she should have complained a lot more than she did. And it was freezing. We were filming in a barn upstate in the middle of winter, so she really,
Yeah.
she's badass. Yeah, in and out of costume.
Oh no, 100%, 100%. I mean, yeah, it's a badass costume, and like you can tell the love that went into making it,
Yes.
and how it's become such an iconic part of the franchise, of Lauren's character, and it just looks so fucking cool.
Oh,
So
thank you so
it's
much. That means a
awesome.
lot. That means a
Of
lot. Thank you.
course. Now, the big headline, moving on to Terrifier 3.
Mhm.
I've exhausted most of my Terrifier 2 questions. I'm excited to talk about Terrifier 3.
Yeah.
Um, big movie, made a killing at the box office, literal killing.
Crazy.
It was a slaughterhouse at the box office. It outdid Joker, which was I thought was crazy.
Honestly, like when you never think this stuff like that is going to happen at all. But like,
No.
what was really, really touching, besides the box office numbers, which really means so much, is just being in the top five with like those movies. Like Beetlejuice is one of my favorite movies ever. The original Beetlejuice. So to see Beetlejuice 2, Joker, and Terrifier, the same like what?
Exactly. I was talking to someone when like back when it was like reaching those box office numbers, and I was like, if you had told me when I was 17 watching the first Terrifier on like Netflix or something, if you had told me Terrifier 3 is gonna be beating Joker 2, a DC movie, and a Beetlejuice sequel at the box office, I would have said you're crazy. You're lying.
Yeah, it's so crazy. And I actually worked on the Beetlejuice 2 promotional commercials.
Really?
Yeah, so like I just had like a very touching year of like a full circle since my childhood, things that I could only dream of. So this has been a wild ride for
Yeah,
sure.
you were killing it. Holy shit.
And Terrifier, thank you. And
Yeah.
Terrifier 2, I'm telling you, was like so bare bones. Like 9 people really like killing themselves trying to make this stuff happen. So to from that like beginning in the trenches of upstate New York in the middle of the cold with no heat to like those kind of results has just been such a trajectory. Like you can't even fathom
Oh
how
yeah.
insane this ride has been.
It's I can imagine. Like it's been insane watching this franchise grow to where it is today, and it's as a fan, I'm super happy for it, and I'm just it's a miracle. It's like a once in a like
Oh,
horror like once in
and
a
it,
genre miracle. Like you only see this sort of thing every 20 or so years with movies getting this big out of nowhere.
yeah, and it's
And
been an incredible year for her between like that, long legs, substance, and like all these things. But um what is really has to be noted also, like some people kind of deem it an overnight success or something, Terrifier, but it really has been the blood, sweat, and tears of Damien for like over 16 years. Like he doodled this character like that long ago, and he's
oh
been
yeah.
long. It wasn't that long ago. He like had like I think he had a job delivering flowers and things like that. So like in the truck while he was listening to 80s music, he was like thinking of all these things and ideas. So besides that, two especially, he like took a whole year of his life to edit that film, do the sound design, do the every little iota of that film. So his blood, sweat, and tears, the whole crew, but his blood, sweat, and tears really is the driving force behind the franchise. And I'm so glad that he met Phil to help finance the first one, and just this group, especially. There's like a lot of heart in there, and heart and soul in this maniacal clown killer movie.
Oh yeah, no, it's a love letter, and it's like it's a passion piece. I mean, clearly, like Damien, wears his love of the genre on his sleeve, and it comes through in so much of his work. I was doing a piece, an article on 1428 Elm talking about the Terrifier movies and their progression and sort of ranking them, and I went back and watched the Terrifier shorts and like All Hallows Eve and stuff like that. And it's like people who say was an overnight success. I'm like, no, go watch
So,
the Art the Clown short film made in 2009, 2008. Like
mhm.
that's not overnight. It's 2025 now, and we're getting to where we are today, and it's insane.
And he's like he's a very much a true artist, and I align so well with this type of mindset. But he's like creating for the pure sake of creating. Like he has this idea, he needs to get it out and create it and make it. And it's just like I think when you put that in the universe, like there's people that just really enjoy and absorbing this whole world that he's created. And I can't imagine like how he feels putting his
Oh
pen
yeah,
to paper years ago, and like look what he's created in 16 or so years. So
I it really is just it's inspiring. I mean, I'm a filmmaker myself, and like
oh,
seeing the work he does and how it's found its audience and gotten this level of like, love from the genre, love at the box office. It's just it's ever inspiring. Each
Yes, and I think it really helps like motivate the crew because he on either film that I've seen him work, like he's really hardworking behind the scenes still. Like he can't stop, so, even when he's
Oh
just
yeah,
directing.
100%. So kicking off with Terrifier 3, the opening just for this whole movie, like, Terrifier 2 oozes that fun Halloween. Terrifier 3 oozes that classic Christmas aesthetic, like, 1970s, 1980s kind of Christmas. Um, especially with the very opening shot of the movie is so reminiscent to me of 1974's Black Christmas.
Yes,
So what sort of works did you and Damien draw from to get that look in a 2024 movie?
100% Black Christmas. Like
Mhm.
he that I had not seen it before, so that was part of my homework. Loved it. And one movie that we both love in terms of Christmas storytelling is Eyes Wide Shut by Kubrick. Um, it's interesting film because it's not like this overly Christmas movie, but if you notice, he uses Christmas lights in every frame almost. And to me, that has always been this like sort of perverse juxtaposition again, where you're showcasing like the joy of Christmas and the warmth of Christmas and the coziness of Christmas that we all know when we're looking at it. But then having that as your canvas for murder is so much fun.
Oh yeah.
Those two were probably my biggest inspirations for the film. But also there was like I forget what it's called. Is it Tales from the Crypt or
Oh, the
something?
Tales from the Crypt, like Christmas episode.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
the old one. So like I was
Mhm.
watching I was like, wow, this is insane. Like if I saw this as a kid, I wouldn't be able to sleep. So, all these little things like added up, and I was also like, I am a big classic film nerd. So
Mhm.
I would just watch things like It's a Wonderful Life and like all these things just to see, because I just really love asymmetry and having the audience like comfortable and cozy in this environment. And then this insanity comes in. So it's always fun to make a quintessential Christmas. Like, who doesn't love Christmas decorating?
Oh yeah.
And my art director too, Violet Morrison, she is incredible, and our department team is incredible because a lot of these sets were actual homes that we had to set up and create this whole thing and break it down and reset it back to their normal life. So it was, it was just a labor of love from the whole team.
I mean, it shows. I mean, it really does show. 'Cause like I said, it has that classic Christmas look to it, and like you said, Eyes Wide Shut. I feel like in almost every scene, there's some Christmas decoration. You're constantly in that Christmas mood while Art the Clown is shoving a chainsaw through someone,
Yes,
and it's
me and
super
Violet
fun.
had this like weird song that we would sing in the between. We'd be like Christmas in every frame. So like, we just like it was just a really big goal to and like, not to jump ahead, but the bar scene was a really fun one too.
Oh yeah.
Just like to have this like joyful like kind of Christmas and then juxtapose it.
Wait, I mean, on the bar scene, that's where Art gets his iconic Santa costume,
Mm-hmm.
Santa Art.
From the amazing
Um,
Danny Roebuck, love Danny.
yeah. The ice pick. I was
Oh my
re
God. The
rewatching
whole
last night. I was like, holy shit, this movie's great.
thank you. That space was crazy because it didn't look like that at all. Like we added a lot of stuff to turn it that way to into this almost dive bar aesthetic. And I really just love like the tinsel everywhere, the snowman. We one I mean, obviously the religious themes throughout the movie, but we turned like the windows behind the bar into stained glass, and like there's a lot of stained glass throughout the whole film. It's
Oh
just like,
yeah,
oh, that was such a, I think that's my favorite set, honestly.
the bar.
Yeah, the bar.
Nice. It's a cool scene, and once again, Art uses a gun.
Yes.
But I remember in the first Terrifier, there were some people who thought that was I mean, out of everything in Terrifier, they thought that one was controversial. They're like,
I
a
mean,
slasher villain shouldn't use a gun, and I was like, there's a case for it. Shows that
yeah,
Art's
I
a
mean,
rebel, you know.
yeah, it's like it's crazy, like what, because we like never can pinpoint what's gonna cause like a stir, and it's like
Hmm.
interesting that that's up for debate, like to
Oh
make it.
yeah. I think by now, after like, because he uses a gun in every movie,
Yes.
at least once. That's like,
Yeah.
I think it really is just once, though. It's like your one time. You know, it's like in a video game. You have your one power that you could use.
Yeah, I mean, he usually loves torturing people a little bit more, but I guess we
Yeah.
could only fit so much in 2 hours too.
Yeah,
So
exactly. Sometimes he's like, all right, I gotta move on. I gotta get to the
gotta,
next guy.
gotta get the costume. I gotta move on to the mall.
Yeah. Which is great. I like it. At first I was, oh yeah, that's fair. Slashers don't usually use guns, but then by Terrifier 2, I was like, there's no stopping this guy.
Yeah, he's a man of efficiency.
Yeah, I mean, he cares about efficiency. Um, so he gets the Santa outfit, and there have been a lot of killer Santas in horror. Like you said, Tales from the Crypt. I mean, Silent Night, Deadly Night, Silent Night, Evil Night. I don't know. There's a million of those types of movies. So I'm curious, were there any specific ones in mind while making Art's Santa outfit?
So the costume team, which is me, Jolene Richardson, and Nicholas Mendoza. Nicholas Mendoza fabricated all our costumes for,
Hmm.
especially for Art.
Right.
But he, like all of us, plus Damien and Dave, like the five of us, did these like kind of costume sessions where we would try on different things, show different types of fur, show different types of reds.
Hmm.
Mm. And we just loved the the color red of that fur and the shortness of it, but then we loved the fur that was like a little bit off-white, a little reminiscent of the old school costumes. And I don't know, like we just like always like to keep Art like super timeless. Like whatever he's wearing, it looks like he could be in the 20s or in the 2000s, like uh I just always associate his style, and especially the way Dave plays him, with like Charlie Chaplin and Buster Keaton kind of stuff. So I just like to, I don't know, I just like the like kind of very simple, very old school because like you could go like super ornate and like super crazy, but it's just not him. So I just like the simplicity of it. And I just love that it's like something that people can easily cosplay too. So
Oh yeah.
and
It's
yeah, we just made sure like the white was like a little wider than the costumes we were seeing, just so that he had this like canvas for spray, blood, and things like that. Because the blood will get lost in the red, of course. But
yeah.
there's
I mean,
like little tweaks that we did to make sure that the audience
no,
was happy with what they were seeing. So
100%. I mean, I'm happy. And I was gonna bring that up is that, with red costumes and horror as well as slashers, the blood doesn't show up. It's always important to have a costume that can show the blood. And that's been my philosophy when going through slasher villains. It's important to show the blood, make it
yeah,
really pop. And
and then
so to make the
the
extra
other,
white.
yeah, the because you needed some type of canvas for his murder, so
Oh yeah.
that was definitely that. But the other thing to keep in mind that many might not understand is that because these are custom made costumes, like I think Nicholas had to make like five for Danny Roebuck and five for Dave, because every time there's like progressions in the blood. We don't film in sequence, so you have to have like ones that are completely clean to kind of make sure that the progression makes sense. And then also you have like stunt doubles at times, all these things like you need to have backups on backups. So that's like where a lot, especially in this kind of movie, where a lot of the budget goes for the costumes.
Oh yeah, you said with filming out of sequence,
Mhm.
with when we see Santa art in the opening, that really fucking insane opening,
Yes,
and it cuts to
very
5 years
insane.
prior. So when in the timeline did you all film the bar scene first, or did you all film the opening first?
Um, no, the opening was towards the end, I think.
Oh
I
wow.
honestly, I'm gonna be honest. I've had a long day. I don't
Oh,
remember.
no, all good. Whereas like you mentioned, like making consistency with the blood, and at the bar
No,
scene, the Santa costume's new, and at the end, he's like covered in blood and killing the people. So I
yeah,
was
I think
curious
the
on that.
bar was like towards the end, and actually, we had like some pickup shoots in July where we, like when he like walks by the window and peeks in, like
Hmm.
that is like in July, like way after we finished principal photography. So
Oh
like,
wow.
uh, so just to give you a little hint of like, I really feel like the house and the bar were both like sort of in the middle of filming, which was from the end of January to like April 15th or something.
Oh wow.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, also with art in this movie, he's I think he's his most dangerous than we've seen before in the franchise. You know, he's in his lair and he's making like a freeze gun, like a super villain. On my first review of the movie, I compared him to like a comic book villain because he's in his lair, he's tinkering with this machine, he's making a freeze ray or
Oh
something,
yeah,
liquid
yeah.
nitrogen.
How cool! Like it's just like I really have this like love for all the workstations in the films.
Oh
Like if
yeah.
you notice, there's like a lot of Sienna's his. Even Jonathan had the desk in his room when he was like looking up stuff. Um, Gabby had a desk in her room with her artworks and stuff like that. So they're all like
All these characters are artists in their own way.
yeah, yeah, especially art.
Oh yeah, art. I mean, it's in the name. Yeah, he's proud of it. He's proud of his work.
Yes,
And
he's like a little
oh,
mad scientist too.
100%. Like when he was doing that, I was like, "This is insane!" Like, because I love in the first Terrifier movie, he's building like in the opening arts, he's building his different weapons. He's making
Yeah,
like his whip of like razors, and now we've gone from that to he's making a liquid nitrogen gun.
yeah. I mean, I'm
Um,
telling you, like when I read these scripts, like I'm like googling these things. I'm like, oh God, please don't someone show up at my house because I'm like, like the weirdest research possibly imagine.
you're like, what is this type of wound? Oh shit!
What is a cat of nine tails?
Yeah. Um, which I mean, to be like comparing Sienna and Art. And how they're kind of similar in a lot of ways. Not to backtrack too hard, but I did remember when I was watching Terrifier 2 again, the first time Sienna and Art meet in person, they have matching color schemes.
Yes.
I was so that's intentional, I'm assuming.
Yeah, so like when we
Okay.
are doing the sort of like fitting for her like street clothes, like I showed him the outfit because I just, if you also notice in Terrifier 2, there's like subtle hints to like art, like kind of permeating her brain and her space. So like her scrunchie is black and white when she's at the workstation. Um, you know, the reason she's wearing that sweater, in my opinion, is because that is the time that they meet. Like it's like kind of like go like ascending to this moment, and then that's the moment. So they're
Mhm.
um even in Jonathan's clothing, there's a bunch of black and white. Like even in the like lining of his shirt, like there's a black and white stripe. So
Oh
you
wow.
like it's all these details that the costume designers and like production designers create that you might not even be able to pinpoint, but you're absorbing as a viewer. So like it's just absorbing this world, and like I think that adds with the tension of the music, with the to the kind of like these pivotal moments.
Oh
Like
yeah. And it kind of it adds to the fact that with the overarching story that
mhm.
Damien is building here, where it's like almost fate.
Yes,
they're
yes.
destined
Like
to
it
kill
was
each
bound to
other or
happen. Like
something. Yeah, that's so cool. I didn't even notice until I was rewatching it last night. I was like, oh shit, that's so cool.
Oh, it's like breaking up for a minute. Sorry, one second.
Oh, all right, am I good?
It's like you're frozen on my end.
Oh, nice.
No, you're still the video's frozen, but there it goes.
Oh, are we good?
You're good. Yeah, you're
All right,
good.
cool, cool, cool. That happens all the time on Zoom. I don't know why. So in Terrifier 3, there's a lot of rats, and I'm curious what was just in general like. Were you like close to working with them as production designer?
We had like a rat team,
A
so
rat team, yeah.
yeah. So especially with live animals and things like that.
Hmm.
I read the script and I was like, oh my god, especially with the rat kill. But
Yeah.
I have pictures with the rats, like just holding them.
Oh,
They're so sweet. Like, it's funny because it's like one of those animals that like I think you put in like an environment like that and you're just immediately creeped out. But they
yeah.
are just like the sweetest animals, like um, yeah. So we had a rat team.
Nice, nice. I mean, were they easy to work with on set, or were they kind
Oh
of
yeah,
a struggle?
they know what they're doing, so they have like certain parameters that like the rats can go in. They have these little barricades when needed, and they just made sure that all the rats were safe. So like even when they were crawling on Jonathan's head bloody in that cage
Yeah.
during the final scenes, made sure like everything that they were on was like non-toxic and like organic, so that was cool. It's
Nice.
just all
That
like so
yeah.
fascinating. Like who would have thought I would be doing this when I was so young?
I
So
just like well, like working with like animals on set. I just find super interesting in how you can get them to kind of do certain things. I was watching Nosferatu.
yeah,
I
oh
just
my, talk about rats.
I know
Wow.
there's a lot of rats in that one. I remember Robert Eggers and the cast were talking about how that was a very interesting work environment because
And
they were
I
being
mean
kind of a mess.
I don't know if it's true, but they were saying it's like 5,000 real ones. So
Yeah,
that
yeah.
that's bananas. That's like,
Wow. Oh yeah,
I
that's
don't even know how you corral that, but
I don't
yeah,
know either.
yeah, that film was like so visually stunning. Like I'm so glad I saw it in the theater.
Oh, Sam, I've seen it like 5 times now. I think
Wow.
it's such a beautiful movie. I love Nosferatu, but
Yeah. Every frame of it is a painting for sure. So
100%. So also I'm trying to go through my notes here. Sorry.
no, please take your time.
So the mask, so Art wears like a Santa mask. That I think I didn't even notice he got it from the bar. I didn't even notice that it was
Yeah,
on
there's
the.
a freeze frame on the door of that and the glasses.
Yeah, I saw the glasses,
Establish,
but I didn't notice it was on the head. That was cool.
yeah, establish where he got it from.
So, what was so is that like was that design inspired by anywhere or any because it looked kind of creepy.
So Damien actually found that online, and it's like a super rare vintage French mask. So many fans were asking where to get that, and it's just like I don't think it's possible to find, to be honest, because it was like one of one or something. So
Wow.
he again he has this incredible vision. So like I'd be at his kitchen counter, like we're just like going like back and forth with things and ideas, and he shows me the mask. I'm like, that's insane. That's so weird. Like so it's just incredibly inspiring how he has this vision and he finds these things that really inspire him, and he just knows like what he wants. It's crazy.
I mean, 100%. Again, he wears his love of the game of the films on his sleeve, and he just does it. He's
Yeah,
like
totty.
he's a badass artist, dude. I
Yeah,
love
like
Damien.
yeah, he's the coolest.
He is. Oh my God. I need to get him on the podcast as well. I want to get the whole Terrifier team on the podcast. Start
You'll have
building
to
the
speak to their
collection.
agents now, but
Oh yeah. I should have gotten in when it was still indie.
Oh,
it is still indie, but
it is, but it's like it's a lot of stuff going on at all times. So
oh yeah.
especially like they travel so much with the conventions and everything.
Hmm. They are coming to Dallas in May. I know
Ah,
there's a horror convention I go to every year, Texas Frightmare.
I've
And
heard of it. Yeah.
I know Damien and David have come there before. I met them there once, but now Lauren and John what's Elliot.
Yes.
They're both gonna be there this time, so that's gonna be
Oh,
super
they're
cool.
all the best. If you do go, tell them all I said hello.
Oh, for sure, 100%. No, they seem so cool.
Oh,
Lauren and
they're the
Elliot
best.
seem so cool. I love their chemistry.
Oh, they're just like I remember like we were testing if they look like siblings. I'm like, duh. Like they look, in the terms of the auditions and stuff, just the whole process was just so like when you're a part of something and things like even though they like Rocky, there's like things are meant to fall into place like the way they did, and like in retrospect you look back and you're like, I can't believe like how the heck did all of us like end up here, and it's just all meant to be in some kind of weird way. It's just really awesome. And I just love Lauren, Elliot, every Dave, like everyone involved is like from cast to crew, and all the behind the scenes, the post production team that nobody ever acknowledges, but
Oh yeah.
they're literally like angels on earth. Like the things that they have to do in like the tiniest time frame, like it's just amazing. Everyone is such true artists.
Oh, dude, I like yeah, these movies are like works of art, fullest extent,
Oh,
and
thank you so much.
100% on the post-production team. I mean, like I've had to do editing. I hate editing. I hate editing so
It is
much.
the it's honestly one of the it is the one I envy the least because
Yeah.
for me, I like love everything. So it's like hard for me to make decisions like that. And to me, like editing is like you're peeling back the layers of the onion to find like the heart of the onion. So like I just don't know how someone's brain works like that. I just like want everything. I can't I wouldn't be able to decide.
100%. Like it just I think I also because like a lot of editing softwares I am just like totally like just brain dead with. Like
Yeah,
you put
I'm
me in
not a technology
like
person
Adobe
either.
you put me in like Adobe Premiere, I don't know what to do. It's a foreign language to me. And then
I
you're all
barely
right. So I start deleting your favorite scenes. I'm like, yeah, get someone else to do. I can't do it. I don't
same.
have the
I
heart.
barely got on this Zoom. So like I just don't I really admire that artistry and the technology behind it. And it's just like hours and hours of work. And it's just like so much heart in that. Kudos to Jason Milstein, who is our post-production supervisor, who does so much for the film, but he also did the sound on the actual filming.
Oh
Um,
wow.
so he is just like a force behind the movie, like a wheels behind the machine as well. Josh Petrino, he killed Josh Petrino. He's our VFX supervisor, and he has an amazing team behind him that was like sort of international too. So it's like a lot of people's heart and souls in this film, and I'm just really proud of everyone.
Honestly, dude, it's a big accomplishment, especially with with how I mean, I think like any movie getting made, like movies are like pure miracles. Like any movie, even ones that aren't, that well received, any movie ever getting made is like nothing short of like the stars aligning perfectly.
You
And then
said it because that's exactly what I said about like when Terrifier 3 was in the rankings of the box office and everything. I'm like, this is not a competition. Like every film has a like team that killed themselves to make this.
oh yeah.
I mean, yes, it's wonderful to be acknowledged and everything like that, but I know that every film, even like when they were like mocking like Joker like Folia do, I was like, yes, I understand, but like also that film had a lot of hard work behind it as well. Like
Oh yeah.
let's not forget it.
Oh yeah, that's when like when I like so I write movie reviews for like freelance sometimes, and even like in college
No,
I wrote like movie reviews for like my own website, and I love
great.
people who are like, oh you're, I love people said I was too nice when I was writing reviews. I was like, well, I get it,
Yeah,
you
like
know.
I couldn't like there are very few films like I flat out hate, but
Same. There's
For
like
me,
maybe five I give 1 star. Like maybe five ever I've given 1 star.
and it's for me, it's like the watchability of it. Like films I love, I can watch 10 times in a row. Like it's like,
Mhm.
or if I enjoy it, but if I don't enjoy it, I know I'm not going to watch it again.
Yeah.
You know? So it's really important to me when I'm doing things to hope that the audience member wants to see it again or wants to see more or wants to see a sequel or something, you know?
Oh yeah, 100%. And I mean, like clearly, you're in the right wheelhouse of Terrifier because I mean, Terrifier, it's got some devoted fans,
Yeah,
and
what a blessing it is to have such wonderful fans.
you're on our way to the fourth movie.
Yes, yes.
Are you going to be involved in the? I mean, I don't know if it's too early to
It
ask
is
the
too early.
questions. Okay,
You know, like obviously I would be honored to be a part of it, but like, you know, I am just like personally, I'm very superstitious, so I don't never assume anything.
100%. That's
And
fair.
you know, I would be honored to be aboard, but like, you know, I also am very realistic about the trajectory of the whole thing. And, you know, I just am so proud of Damien. Like, you know, this is so, it's like the wildest dream of any filmmaker. And I'm so glad that he put his pen to paper years ago and is doing all these wonderful things.
Oh yeah, 100%. Again, like I know I'm kind of it's like a broken record here, but it's insane. Like like just watching the Terrifier franchise go from where it started to where it is today is like not like as a fan, as an independent filmmaker myself, and just watching that process, I'm like, holy shit, that is
And it's
crazy.
yeah, and it's really about just like is first of all, I just say that there's no world like Damien Leone's world.
Oh
But
no,
it's also just like, you know, he's a great example of just keep going, keep trying, keep creating, keep putting it out there. I still to this day, and I'm gonna next week, like I still get together with my closest colleagues and friends and create just for the sake of creating. Because like you just have to keep putting that into the world. Like the world needs more creating, less destroying. So we need to just keep at it, even when it's hard.
I love that. No,
Mhm.
100%. I couldn't agree more. Which like, like with like tell me a little bit about like your journey to being a production and costume designer because I mean like that's a cool like job and I think kind of underappreciated in film. So how did you like start off with that?
Again, I'll try not to like verbal diarrhea all this because it's like
That's what podcasts are for. Go
yeah.
ahead.
I totally like took the very scenic route to this. I was a huge like book nerd and I went to college on a scholarship and I studied economics and French. I graduated with that from Rutgers. And then after I just knew like I wanted to do something like fashion related because since I was young, I was like my parents were always into the art of dressing, like, you know, just very always being dressed up. And I studied and obsessively observed like all the editorials in magazines because back in the 90s they were like very thick and like they put a lot of money in storytelling into editorials. So to me, it was always about how amazing it was to create a story in a single. Whoop, are we good
Oh
now?
yeah, yeah.
It froze. I said it was always about to me how fascinating it was to create a story in a single frame. And I just feel like I was just always collaging, cutting out these things. I never had like a reason or purpose why. So then I did a 2-year program after college at FIT, the Fashion Institute of Technology in New York. And there I was there for 2 years studying wardrobe styling and wardrobe technician. And one of the favorite classes there was one that focused on script analysis. So what you did was you were given a script and you had to tell the teacher what the world would look like what the characters would be wearing. And what my favorite part of that process was, you had to really delve into the idiosyncrasies of the character. Would that character wear a watch? How do they tie their shoes? Do they tie it weird? Do they tie it normal? Like, if you look at any one of us walking around, we all have a personal style. Even if we wear all black, there are things like me, I wear like these 2 lucky bracelets every day. Like, why? It's just me.
Yeah.
um, and if anybody looks in their own closet, you're kind of seeing like colors you gravitate towards or styles you gravitate towards. So any person is trying to convey who they are to the world by what they're wearing. So even if you wear casual clothes, dressed up clothes, like there's always a story behind it. So I just love that. And I got my start in like music videos, which in many ways is short films in a sense. So, I started from music videos to commercial work to short films to feature films. And then I met Damien. So 2019, I signed on as costume designer for Terrifier, and something didn't work out with the set designer they had found. So we're toiling away in Phil's basement, and he turns to me and says, "Would you be the production designer as well?" So I said, "Let me think about it." So I went to the bathroom and I Googled, what does a production designer do? And I read it and I came out and I was like, yeah, I could do that. And it was just like one of these crazy moments in my life. And I'm very honest about it because, I had some idea of what they do, but I didn't really like understand that they really do like create the whole world, the atmosphere, the color palette and things like that. And to be trusted with something like that, it really means so much. And it was a turning point in my life because that is the position that I'm hired for the most now. And like, I really have to give so much gratitude and thanks to Damien for even seeing that in me when I didn't see it in myself. So
That's
yeah.
awesome. Yeah, no, that's super cool.
Yeah.
I mean,
I just the very scenic route. So,
yeah. I dig that though, and it's like like I said, you said you got your degree in economics and
yeah,
French.
economics and French, and then I have a 2-year certificate program in wardrobe styling and wardrobe
That's cool.
technician. Yeah. So
No, yeah, that thing you said with like you get a screenplay and you design the world and talk about what each person will wear. I think that's super cool. I've always found that super interesting.
oh yeah, and I love working with the actors too, just to bring these characters to life. Like even with Lauren, we were talking about, and it's probably very subtle and unseen, but like Sienna, when she's in her street clothes, has very like horrible like black nail polish that's like all chipped off kind of thing, because like she's always nervous and she's artistic, so she's always working with her hands. I have the same, like my nails are all chipped up right now because I was like working with my hands a little while ago. um but then when she's in the costume, she has the tricolor metallic nails, so that are like perfect, and like because she's like ready to go to war. So
That's so cool. I mean,
yeah,
I like those little details that show that like they're a person who like lives a life. Like it really adds, like realism and like a whole world to the character.
it's
Uh,
truly my favorite part, whether it be costumes or the sets, to create that, not only for the viewer, but also when the actor, and that is the greatest honor to me when they tell me that they feel the character or they feel the room, or, and when I was like, when I signed on to be production designer, I really, night and day, I breathe this. So even when I'm off, I'm always like studying everything. I watch interviews and stuff. And one of my favorite production designers, Bill Groom, who did Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, Boardwalk Empire, League of Their Own, he had said that make sure that, say if there's like a desk, make sure that each of the drawers of the desk has stuff in it, because you never want the actor to be playing and like open a drawer and just be taken out of the realm. So I always look at everything like an aquarium, and I make sure, my hope is that I never take the audience member out of the realm, and I never take the actor out of the realm.
100%. And I mean, I never even thought, like you said, like putting stuff in the drawers. That's actually really cool. I've never thought of that. That's super cool.
Yeah, it's like one of my favorite things to share with people because you like, it is playing pretend, but in order for it to be realistic, like it has to be as realistic as possible. So
100%. And I mean, it again, it shines through in these movies, and like with the set design of Terrifier 3 specifically, I wanted to ask about the Christian imagery throughout the film. You kind of touched on it a little while ago, and that was something that really popped out to me my first time watching. So I was like, wow, there's a lot of like Christian imagery. I mean, the crown of thorn, like there's some like the obvious ones like the crown of thorns and the dead body in the house being crucified, basically.
yeah, yes.
But there's also some like more like subtle stuff in the background. There's the woman on the bus reading the Ninth Circle book, which I
Uh,
thought
did you, did you notice my cameo on that?
was that you?
I'm the
Oh,
author.
wait, wait. Oh, the author. Oh, the author. I was like, what? No way.
No, I wasn't the woman on the bus, but
I was like, I didn't know that. Okay, that's cool.
and I actually, yeah, like so it was like a fun little Easter egg in there. And then I was in the club scene also in two. So
That's sick.
dancing in like a leopard outfit. But we all it was everything is a labor of love. So it's fun to have that 2 seconds part of it.
100%. And so like like when you and Damien are like working on the film, what was this much Christian imagery in the script, or was that something that developed as production went on?
I think like, obviously Christmas is there's like the biblical story behind Christmas and everything.
Right.
But I just wanted to, when I read the script, I just wanted to make sure that because for me, ultimately there is like a battle between good and evil, and that is like a lot of the biblical tales too. So I just want to make sure that we just add these like subtle religious elements to like throughout the film. So of course we eat like very obviously you had mentioned the crown of thorns, the crucifixion, but there's also like the church scene with the stained glass windows. We bring the stained glass windows, like if you notice there's a lot of stained glass lamps in the last house, especially when like the father and mother are in bed, you see the huge stained glass lamps, like those kind of things. So ultimately it's just there is like a sort of underlying theme of all that. Not to like, because I just like don't like giving away things, but like what I'm saying is like, you do see the battle between Sienna wearing the crown of thorns and evil, which is art and things like that. Yeah, there's and then the Virgin Mary and that dream sequence with the demon making the costume, which is such that's also one of my favorite scenes.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
and kudos to Bill Diamond Productions who helped us create that, and the mall's set Santa scene. Him and his team really came through. He's like a true legend, and it was an honor to have him aboard as well. But yeah, there's definitely religious themes going on.
Oh yeah. No, I like when I first watched it, I was like, this is like really, I was really going there.
Yeah, yeah.
I
Um,
mean, I like it.
and it's never like I think like I heard that there was like protests or something like that. And I'm like, but like I get it because of the subject matter of the film, but like the film itself is paying homage to the Bible, if anything, and the stories.
Right.
Um, if anything, it's mocking like me. Like I had to mention in another thing, there's like a mockery of like to me, like commercialism and materialism when the girl is like at the Santa scene and she sees him there about to give toys, like his face is obviously not Santa, but all she sees is toys, So she's like running up and they all run up because.
Every time I watch that scene, I'm like, those kids have no fucking survival instincts.
Yeah,
I'm
and it
like,
was
I
like,
get you're young, but come on.
and it was so crazy because like one of the weirdest parts of my job is like I had to take a picture of each of the extras just to like have pictures of the wardrobe in my like arsenal or whatever. But when we do the blow up, which was a practical blow up, we blew up the entire set.
Oh my
Um,
God.
like there's body parts. Like I have to dress those body parts. Like I'm like taking pictures. I'm like, like we don't know which one is going to be the clothing for the limbs, but yeah,
Before and after the
yeah,
photos.
yeah.
God
Oh,
damn.
sorry, guys.
What is that's probably one of the most surprising scenes in the franchise to me.
Oh, cool.
Well, because I was like, I went into the theater the first time, and I was like, they're probably gonna have to kill kids in this one.
I
Because,
know there's like rumors and stuff, but
yeah.
it's like tasteful.
Well, yeah, well, because I was going, I was like, I know Damien had mentioned taking everything a step above the previous one. And when you rewatch Terrifier 2, you're like, there's really only one stone left unturned. And
Yeah,
that's, killing kids. And so I was like, okay, they're probably gonna kill one or two. And the opening happens. I was like, that was pretty brutal, but okay, we got it out of the way. He did it. He said he was gonna do it, and he did it. And then and then that Santa scene happens. I'm like, oh, okay. But it was so like funny to watch because I was watching it and I was like watching all the kids unwrap the presents and I was like, man, imagine like 2 seconds before it happened, I was like, man, imagine if there's like a bomb or something and there's like some crazy shit.
yeah. That Damien thinks of some crazy shit. Because I remember I read the script just like two. Like I'm in my studio and I'm reading it. I'm like, it just felt like heavy after. Like I just felt
Yeah,
like,
you're like, oh.
oh my god, like that's a lot.
And then there's like the close-ups on the blown up birds that you had to dress. I'm like, oh my God, okay,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's
All
like
right.
this is why my parents came to this country, so I can do that.
Exactly. This is what it's all about. That's what it's all
So
about.
that's what it's all about, making mom and dad reluctantly happy.
I was begging my parents to watch Terrifier 3 because I thought just their reaction would be so damn funny. And they read my review of it and they said they wouldn't watch it.
They're very smart. They're very smart.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
oh, I just have to say on my iPad, my battery's dying, but I could always switch to the phone if
Oh, yeah,
anything.
no problem. Yeah, I can move things right along. So I know you had said it's too early to really talk about Terrifier 4 or anything going into that. But I do know there were some fan theories circulating around Terrifier 4 taking place in hell to some capacity, especially after the ending of Terrifier 3 of Gabby falling into the depths of hell and Sienna having to go save her.
Oh my
Uh,
god.
yeah, right. It's a heavy ending. Every time I watch it, I'm like, oh Jesus, that's bleak.
Yeah.
So, hypothetically, what approach do you think you would take to creating a full-on hellscape in the world of Terrifier?
Oh
Like,
my god. Please, I would love that if that were the way the story goes. I don't know. I would just like really, first of all, that would be a dream.
right, right.
um, I guess like I would really have to pick Damien's brain. What he, if that were the where we're going with this, I'd have to pick his brain of what he views hell as. Like, what does he envision it looks like? Because I could give my 2 cents, but ultimately it's his vision that I am here to create. So that would just be such a like a lot of the behind the scenes are like my favorite parts where we're picking each other's brain, where we're collaborating, where we're with our DP George Stuber and this thinking of like all the ways that we're gonna light the scenes and everything. So I think it would just have to be this really long creative session about what that would look like.
Oh yeah. What would your approach be if Damien just put it in your hands
Oh, I don't
to,
know.
to, to create hell?
So one of my favorite quotes is by this this French writer Jean-Paul Sartre, I think, and he says, "Hell is other people."
Oh
Uh,
wow.
so, and I think like if you read that, it's I think the whole story, not to ruin it for you, but it's basically they're in a waiting room and it's hell. So that always makes me think of also Beetlejuice when they're in
I
like
was about to say, yeah.
sort of this weird like purgatory of sorts. And to me, it would have to be. And then you have like even like the David Lynch like Twin Peaks where they're in this sort of purgatory that's like in a waiting room of sorts with the red curtains and all this stuff. I would definitely think there's like the pits of hell and everything, but it's like you maybe that there's this like kind of space first
Mhm.
that you have to like a purgatory of sorts, but that you have to get through to get to that part.
Yeah. I can definitely see that. And I mean, also, I just love the visual of art having to take a number and sit in a waiting room, Beetlejuice
Yeah.
style.
Oh my gosh, what an homage that would be to like literally this film I watched like 100 times because I'm so obsessed with the original,
Yeah,
especially. It just the whole concept behind it, and I just love it. It's just so funny.
it takes the number. It's number like 8,200,000 and they're serving number five. It's like,
Yeah, you could already see him rolling his eyes just as Beetlejuice did.
just,
Like,
yeah, just like, oh, this will
like
wait.
just
Pulls
so
out a magazine.
yeah,
That'd be great.
it would be great. Yeah, obviously, I have no idea what's in Damien's brain for four, so this is fun to just like shoot the shit into the
Oh
universe.
yeah, no, 100%. It was like, someone floated the idea of like, oh, it takes place in hell. I'm like, I would love just a feature. Like, we're not even in the human world for any of the movie. It starts off and the whole movie 2 hours just in hell. I'm
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
that'd be a badass way to do it. And I
I
could
mean
see Damon doing that.
that would be really cathartic in a way because the behind the scenes is hell because it's like so cool. Like it's because it's like he writes like $100 million script for the budget we have, so our crews are still small, even on the third one, and
Mhm.
like the pace of it and everything is so grueling, but it would just be like so hilarious to be also creating hell while you're in hell. But I say that with all due respect, like you
Oh
know,
yeah, I'm
any film is extremely hard work, as you know. So
100%. I mean, yeah, movies are miracles. That's
I want to use that. I want to
yeah.
steal that from you.
I hear that a lot. Like movies are miracles. I also hear like I think there's a book named like Movies Are Prayers. I mean, it's also pretty true. Where you're just kind of like, hope this works.
Yeah, like I said, Terrifier 2 was like preyed upon, duct taped, to like there was like everything that whole costume was a metaphor. Like it was just a survival thing. It was the ultimate test for everyone of their tenacity and grit.
It was the survivor of horror filmmaking.
Yes, exactly. It's like the behind the scenes, I think, would be even more successful. Like if you showed the true behind the scenes, would be more successful than the movies because they were so like insane. Like no one could fathom it.
I I want to hold behind. I know they just released. I think there's a documentary out on Terrifier
I
right
haven't
now, but
seen it. Like I was part of it or whatever, but like I haven't
mm,
seen it. And none of those things ever capture. Like usually they're capturing the ha ha he he laughter moments and stuff. Like
yeah,
no, you need to see like the blood, sweat, and tears. Us working so many hours on no sleep and like just really trying to make it like until that camera's rolling, like tweaking it to death until it so make sure that it looks as best as it could be. And I think the internal struggle of any artist is that you know in your heart that's only 60% of what you can do. And you see this 100% version in your head, but like all the limitations never let you get it there. And as long
mm,
as like, you know, it's the best as it can be, that's all you can hope for.
oh yeah.
You know,
I hear all the time the quote "done is better than perfect,"
yeah, it's
and
like
it's
I think that's like our executive producer Phil Malcone's way of thinking. He's like,
oh yeah.
good enough.
But it's so hard for me to keep that mindset, but I have to remember it because I was working on a project earlier this week where I was like, this sucks, I hate it, but this
I
guy
feel you.
wants it today, so I'm just like,
I feel you, but I think it's like also like it really. I think film taught me so hard because I was such a perfectionist. Like I would like cry if it wasn't the perfect, and the film really teaches you to let go of it because it was like it's just such a practice in like you know it's the best it can be with the circumstances you have, with the budget you have, the tools that you're given, you know.
Mhm.
Yeah. So
100%. I know, I get
it's
it.
yeah, it's survivor, it's life metaphor, it's all those things.
Absolutely. To kind of round things out, I have a few viewer submitted questions.
Wonderful.
I put out on my social
Um,
medias.
so real quick, if the phone dies, should I go on my phone and would it be the same link?
Yes, it should be.
Okay, so if that happens, I'll find you again on this link. Okay.
No worries, no worries. So the first one was from a friend of mine, Gavin Ellis. He said, we
Hi,
asked,
Jeff.
he asked, were you surprised by how successful Terrifier 3 has been?
Absolutely, because I again, like I personally, like I we knew we had like an incredible fan base, especially after two. But I think it's really just been really amazing to see that it's just expanded to all kinds of people, like maybe not so much a hardcore person watching
Mhm.
it and everything. um I'm extremely humbled and to see this, because again, where we came from, especially in two with like very little crew members, to this, which also did not have enough crew members for what we were trying to accomplish. But just to know the behind the scenes and the heart, sweat, the heart, the soul into it, the blood, sweat, and tears. Um, I am of the practice that I never ever assume anything. I never assume success. I never assume that things are going to go well. I just really think that if we put all this hard work and love into the universe, that it's going to like hopefully resonate with so many people. And the fact that it did is just like the best. Like so we're just so like all of us, from the cast to the crew to the post-production, everything, are so grateful that everyone enjoyed it most of all. So
Oh yeah. Now it was a like huge like shock to the genre to see this. I mean that in a good way. Not like, oh, who knew? It was like, like literally like who knew this would take off to this because Terrifier 2 itself was kind of a box office hit for, I mean, for
especially
what it
for
was. It
for
was
what it was.
huge.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Terrifier 3 took that and then ran with it. I think it's now the highest grossing unrated movie ever put in the theater.
Which is insane. Like I just got goosebumps when you said that.
Which I think I mean, I could totally be wrong. I don't, bound my word to this, but I think that it beat Saw in that. I believe Saw was released unrated,
And I think
which is
that's just a
insane.
true love story for indie filmmaking. Like it's
Oh
a
yeah.
true testament to indie filmmaking as well.
Oh,
So
yeah, because I mean, Saw was an indie film because it's like the fact that those two are like the biggest in that unrated, I mean,
and
category is crazy.
I mean, 2024 was a wonderful year for horror in general,
It
beyond
was.
so like it just really means a lot to be part of this genre and creating these things that are, and it's like what I love about it is there's very little boundaries. You like have a canvas like no other. Where on like the other things I work on is very about playing it safe, and like especially commercial work and things like that. So it's
Hmm.
just really an honor to create something that you just really can do whatever the hell you want.
Oh yeah, which I can imagine I can imagine it's very freeing
Oh yeah.
as someone who is kind of who works in commercials and very kind of corporate style, um, media to come here and be like, yeah, we're gonna blow up kids and cut people's heads off and
Oh yeah. And yeah, and I
freeze people.
like it's just like I love that about my job, that every day is a different like rodeo. So and a different like I am so grateful to the commercial work too, because that also is a bit of storytelling and showing like a family having breakfast or whatever it is. And then to also do this with no hold bar, like runaway train kind of creativity. It's just like I'm grateful for the whole spectrum of those things.
Oh yeah. And another question we got from Cade was what was the difference in working on Terrifier 2 versus Terrifier 3? Because you said both of them were very small crews and
Hi, Kate. um, the big difference between Terrifier 2 and Terrifier 3 for me was it was a much bigger crew. So as you know, that Terrifier 2 was made by the blood, sweat, and tears of a core crew of 9 people. Of course, we had people come in and help. Our executive producer, especially Phil Falcone, built a lot of things from like the water tank to the FX with Damien. But on Terrifier 3, we actually had crews for each of the departments. So me personally had a costume department and a production department, like a production design department, the art department. So costumes, I had 2 people, and then the art department had like a core crew of 6 people. But then we had some people that were like volunteers slash interns helping out, like for the bigger scenes, like the frat exterior and things like that. Um, and then we also had other amazing artists and legends come in too, like Christian Tinsley and the special effects department, camera team, lighting team. Like, so we had a core crew of about 40 people this time. And it still was not enough in the time frames that we had, but that definitely was a huge, huge jump from 2.
I can imagine, yeah. That's gonna have that extra help, so it kind of relieves a little bit of the blood, sweat, and tears. Not all of them,
Not really, but
but
but it's just because we also this time we were using like these anamorphic lenses and the spaces were a lot bigger. Like we went in a barn in upstate New York, and now we're in like huge like a whole house and like huge spaces, like the frat exterior and the Santa mall set, which Bill Diamond came in and did that with his crew. It's the scale of it was so much bigger. There's so many more locations and bedrooms and things like that. So everything was just bigger.
oh yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
Taylor Hoyt asked, what inspirations did you pull from when costuming?
Oh, yeah. So many. I would definitely always, hi Taylor. I always lean towards these like sort of vintage aesthetics and stuff. Like if you saw in Sienna's jacket, the yellow jacket that she's wearing, which if you want one, it's on Classic Rock Couture. It's a small business, female owned. But there's like, you can see the therapy center that she's leaving is also like Sun Valley, and then she has sunrise on the jacket, so it's like a new beginning for her. But I also like that the jacket had a bit of like that stained glass look to it, like with the sun. So there's all these little things that I'm trying to convey in the wardrobe. And she always has these like earth tones and browns going on. Um, I was looking at, like a fun character was Cole, because he was like this kind of like the opposite of Jonathan, because Jonathan's like reserved and still like post traumatic and everything. And Cole is this like kind of man about town, so he has a lot of jewelry and like things like that. So I could do like a whole seminar on all the little details of it, but I just you know really think about all the what makes this character tick, and if there's any specific questions, I'm here to address those. But yeah, I just love that you are looking at all those details, Taylor. So thank you.
I do love Cole as well. I think he was a cool character.
It's like Mason McCarthy is like so awesome. He and I are obsessed with David Lynch films, so we like nerded out about
Oh,
that.
that's so badass.
Yeah,
Rest in peace. Rest in peace,
yeah,
David Lynch.
absolutely.
Also, Cole got like the coolest death in the movie. So
But probably the most jarring for sure.
yeah, that's like bedroom scene equivalent, I
Yes,
think.
absolutely.
Which
That was yeah,
speaking
go
of
ahead.
the bedroom scene, I totally forgot to ask about this.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's a question or a comment, but I just had to point it out. I love how Allie's bedroom is like almost all white to
it's
make the
actually
blood
yellow.
splatter.
Yeah, it's
Oh, is it?
actually yeah.
Oh, Had a lot of like, well, had a lot of pink, yellow, and like white to add a lot of like brighter colors to it to make the blood just pop that much more. That
Yeah,
bedrooms.
like I definitely like the bed and everything. The wicker, there's that like kind of netting above her bed because I was just thinking like if she's like propped up against that, like what is the most bonkers canvas that could be on? Like this like floral, beautiful, like very perfect like bed that like oh it was just that was a lot of fun. I just like always love that like dichotomy.
I like the blessed sign that the camera
Yes,
focuses on.
that's like my little secret like FU to like live, laugh, love culture.
Yeah. No, while I watch it, I was like, I love that. I
Yeah,
love that. It's being splattered in blood. She's
I
being
have one
tormented.
up here in the studio, and I just like love that thing. It's so funny.
That's great.
I'm glad you like that. It's one of my favorite details. So thank you for noticing.
Of course, yeah, no, it's great. So Amber asked, very good friend of mine, Amber, she asked, what got her into production design, and did anyone ever inspire you?
Oh yeah, so like definitely I think I had touched upon earlier that Damien
Hmm.
got me into production design. But I guess it was also one of those things that I was always subtly like observing and studying, like no matter I watch even if I'm off, I watch a film every day. And it's because it's like all different types of films. Just because I love seeing like these worlds created and I don't really watch the newer things with CGI and stuff like that, though I very much respect the artistry of it. It's just like for me, when I am taken out of the realm, I hate that. So I just really, really focus on how they create mood and create a world. And yeah, so Bill Groom is probably one of my biggest influences who did all these really, really detailed period pieces like Boardwalk Empire, Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. I really recommend his interviews. That's the one that taught me to put stuff in the drawers and make sure that the actor stays in the realm as well. So, and then also like there's there's way too many production designers. But Catherine Martin is a great one who works with Boz Luhrmann, her husband, but she all does both production and costume design for all his films. And Romeo and Juliet is one of my biggest, like with Leonardo DiCaprio, Claire Danes is one of my biggest influences also.
Oh yeah, Baz Luhrmann movies just has they have the coolest costumes.
Yeah, and there's so much attention to details. Like, and I just that is like the ultimate goal to have that kind of budget and that kind of room to play.
Oh yeah,
Like
I
even
loved
if,
his.
yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I loved his Elvis
Yeah, so I was
portrayal.
watching the behind the scenes of that, and the costume department is so huge. But they even had like painters come in to paint the costumes for Elvis and everything, like hand paint them.
Oh
So
wow.
it was just wow, like hundreds and hundreds of racks, especially for the like concert scenes, the because it also is a period piece, so you have to make sure that everything feels real, and they really knock it out of the park every time.
Oh yeah, I mean it's I just I mean Baz Luhrmann's known for having like very over the top like costuming. I think Elvis was like really really emphasized that because he was an over the top guy. So
Oh yeah, yeah. And like I mean, if you think
that
about
was
it,
cool.
Romeo and Juliet too was a great one with the wings in that costume scene with the aquarium. Like
Mm.
that's such an iconic scene. And then also the death scene in the church with the. Have you seen it?
Once, kind of a
Oh, I
while
highly
back.
recommend you rewatch it, especially as a filmmaker. But the church scene with like all the flowers and candlelight and the neon crosses, like it's such a like rock and roll movie and version of it.
Hell yeah. So you said you watch a movie a day?
Yes.
That's awesome. I try to do that. I never do, but I try to.
For me, it's like I feel bad because people recommend things to me all the time, especially
Mm.
TV shows, but I don't have a schedule where like I am very like I want to watch the next one. And
Mhm.
I don't have a schedule where I could just like watch episode after episode. And it's easier for me to immerse myself in a world for 2 hours and then I'm done with it. And it's like always like a decompression for me, but also like I'm always every day somehow studying what I do.
Oh yeah, 100%. What are you watching today?
Um, I'm not sure, but what wait, this is funny and very, very Olga, but I like lived under like a bit of a pop culture rock growing up, so I didn't watch a lot of things that most people have my age. So one of the things I'm working on a new project, and one of the homeworks they gave was Napoleon Dynamite, and I've never seen it. So I'm watching it for the first time probably tonight. So
I've only seen that movie once, and the first time I watched it, it was like 2 years ago. So I'm kind of with you on that. I was kind of late to the
and
Napoleon
like
Dynamite game.
there's so many films like that. Oh, another, yeah, like I had watched this as a kid, but I don't know why this popped in my head, ADHD or something. But Gremlins was a big influence for Terrifier 3 also.
I love Gremlins. Have you
Yeah,
seen
Gremlins.
Gremlins 2?
No, I haven't. Should I?
Oh my God, please, I recommend this to everyone. Please watch Gremlins 2. It's
Okay.
so damn good. It's from what I understand about that movie, this is such a total side tangent. It has nothing to do with anything. But from
If
what
you
I
haven't noticed, I'm the queen of side tangents. So
I love it. That's why I gave myself a podcast. I'm like, I want to talk.
I
And
love the conversation.
there's points where I'm like, I need to stay on topic. There's the points where I'm like, no, I'm gonna talk about this. And Gremlins 2, I'm gonna make an exception. Gremlins 2 is so damn good because it's one of those movies where they already had the budget before they started writing. So from what I understand, they told the writers like the movie's already funded, do whatever you want, like who cares?
What a
And
dream.
so they just throw everything into the movie. There's like a mad scientist, there's like mutated gremlins. There's a gremlin that turns into electricity.
Oh
It's
my
all
gosh.
commentary on corporate America and technology. It's such a good movie. I'm
I,
gonna
I really do.
100% check out Gremlins 2
Okay,
whenever you
that's
get
my
the
homework
chance.
from you now. So
Yes,
I'll
Gremlins
report
2.
back after I see it.
Please do. It's my favorite sequel I think ever maybe because it's just so batshit insane but in the best ways and it's
That's
great.
like my favorite kind of movie. Like I'm a huge fan also of John Waters films. So like Pink Flamingos, but Serial Mom is my favorite if you haven't seen that.
I need to watch John Waters' whole filmography because I've
I
seen
guess
a
you
lot
do.
of interviews of him, and he's like seems like such a smart guy. I'm like, okay, I want to listen to more of this guy, but I need to
I
sit down and actually watch his movies.
Yes, I know. Like that's my homework to you is that it is. I see him anytime he's in the area doing like a talk or like a book signing or anything. He is so fascinating. I
Mhm.
just saw him at his Christmas special, but he has such advice for the film world and just everything he's done. So when it's like funny to me, and Damien and I talk about this, but like when people say like, "Oh my God, Terrifier is like so crazy," like it made all this like publicity in the movies, but you need to watch Pink Flamingos because that is the most batshit insane movie ever. And like, for example, like the trailer for the movie is there's nothing shown about the movie. It is all audience reactions to it. Like that was the trailer
Really?
for the movie. Yeah.
That's so
So,
badass.
so I would definitely watch that too. And Serial Mom is my favorite movie of his, and his favorite movie he's ever done. So I would really recommend that as well. So those two especially, and then you could deep dive on the other ones. I flew out to LA to see his retrospective at the museum because like it had all the costumes and this. I love him and everything he stands for. He's amazing. And I also recommend Criterion Channel streaming service because it's such a film school that I didn't go to film school, but that's why I watch a movie every day. So
100%.
um, Criterion Channel has amazing films for all over the like spectrum, but it does have a lot of John Waters, and it also has a lot of behind the scenes and interviews. So those are all great things to hear and learn, and that no matter the budget, I've learned like if it's 100 million or 1 million or less, they're all chaotic.
Oh
So
yeah.
you
I
have
need
to
to
be
get
a
on
special soul to do films.
I need to get on my Criterion my
Yeah, I really
Criterion.
recommend it. I honestly like I canceled all other streaming services and I just have Criterion because it's pretty affordable too, like
Oh yeah.
compared to the others.
I need to get a like a I don't have a subscription to it, but I watch a lot of their movies, but I need to like lock in and get the subscription to it. It's Trauma Now.
Oh yeah, yeah. I've
I
heard
love
so like
Trauma.
I have to really school myself on trauma too because I've heard so many references to it to me too.
Oh
So
yeah, it's great. I mean I've met Lloyd Kaufman a few times. I've like worked
that's
with
awesome.
him once or twice. And also my first ever short film got put on Trauma Now. So I'm
Oh,
like now I
good for
feel
you.
like I really
Congratulations.
thank you. Yeah, I'm like that's it was fun. It was cool. So I'm like now I need to get a Trauma subscription so I can watch my own movie.
Yeah, well, I'll look out for it. I can
For
watch it.
sure. I mean, it's also for free on YouTube. That's probably why I don't get a lot
Yeah,
of
send
streams
me a
on
link
Stroma.
anytime. Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, I need that. Yeah. So I think our last viewer submitted questions from Nicole. She asked, "Do you have a favorite costume design in the franchise?"
Hi, Nicole. I like I treasure so many of the costumes we created because especially, like one of the things that really touches my soul is like when I see people cosplay things. So in Terrifier 2, like of course, like I'm here to help develop and bring forth Damien's vision and world. So like, in many ways, Sienna's costume was the foundation of which, and I, brought my details to it, but that he already had established in his head a certain way. Art the Clown's costume he had established. For me, the Terrifier 2 costume that I really loved was Sienna's costume in the Clown Cafe. Just because it was like such a departure from her, warrior costume and it's just like a fun thing. So when I see people cosplaying it with the pigtails and everything, it makes me so happy. So, and in Terrifier 3, one of the costumes that is like 2 seconds of the movie is like the Virgin Mary. And that was like so many hands on deck that people don't realize that scene is so small, but so many people had to be involved in creating it. So full circle moment, one of my top 10 favorite movies is Dick Tracy. And we had John Caglione, who is the incredible Oscar winning FX designer who did the FX on Dick Tracy, the special effects makeup. He did the special effects makeup on the Virgin Mary.
Oh
Uh,
wow.
yeah, so I had such good, that was the first day of filming and I had like the biggest goosebumps. So Damien and I had gone back and forth about how we wanted the Virgin Mary to look, and there was this like cracked statue that we both fell in love with, and we sent that off to the FX team, and Nicholas Mendoza and I, this costume fabricator, went to like a bunch of fabric stores to pick out the perfect color teal and the perfect weight and the thing so that it would drape. So he made this incredible thing based off that cracked doll, the cracked Virgin Mary statue we loved. And we found a trim that really accented it. He created it. We shipped it off to Jason Baker, who him and his team did the stiffening process for it so that it looked like a statue. Our actors really did the part well. So like it's like so many hands in this one costume. And you don't see me and Steve Del Sala like holding up the costume behind her while she's like jerking her movements and everything because it was so heavy after all those processes. So um it's just like so much fun behind the scenes, but there was so much work involved in something that's 2 seconds of the movie. And that is like a favorite costume of mine in Terrifier 3.
I mean, it's a really like you said, it's only 2 seconds, but it does leave an impression.
Oh,
And
thank
I
you.
think a big part of that is the costuming and the set design of that scene. And honestly, that scene I think is uh a strong indicator of where Terrifier could be going, like visually. So I'm like, if that's where we're heading, I'm down for it.
Yeah, I also like it was the first day of filming, like I said. So to be there with John Caglione, to be there, at Bill Diamond Studios where he helped us build this like world where he was doing the costume, the demon. It was just, like for that to be the first day of filming, I think it was also Damien's birthday.
Oh
So
wow.
it was just like this weird, like full circle moment. Like, wow, like we like are doing something truly special again, but it's at a different, much more elevated level. Like to see like Christian Tinsley's team and stuff like that. Like I was really proud of Damien too, because like all of his heroes are now involved and asking to be involved in his films. So that's just really cool full circle moment.
Oh yeah, 100%. Cool things always happen on Damien's birthday. I think on his birthday this year, he just released the Terrifier 4 like script cover or
Yeah, it should be
something.
like it should be like a national holiday.
I mean, at this point, it ought to be. I mean, there's just so much cool shit happening. Um, but yeah, that scene with the Virgin Mary. I mean, like I said, 2 seconds, but it looked really cool. And I know there's a Terrifier documentary out right now,
Yeah, I
but
still have to see it.
I no, yeah, Sam, I need to get there's so many subscription services I need to get now. I need to get Screenbox. I need to get Trauma Now. I need to get
Same, same. But
Criterion.
it's just like I'm not home to watch all these things all the time, but I try. I try.
All these good streaming services, and here I am on Netflix.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I mean, it's
Uh,
like the old school one out of all of them. So
what's up?
it's the old school one. But I'm gonna be honest, I do miss like going to Blockbuster and stuff
Me
like
too.
that so much.
Have you seen like they're like the VHSs of Terrifier 2 and 3? Those are so
Yes, I
cool.
want one. How cool is that?
My Walmart had the Terrifier 2 and they had the Terrifier 3 VHSs. I can never find them every time I go to Walmart. They get swiped up so fast.
Yeah, mine too. Like
It's,
I heard that they were there and then they only put out like two or three or something. So you really have to be I'm not there that often to like really be on top of it, but
yeah, Sam.
that would
It's
be very cool. As like, because the VHS was like, that's what I was telling John Caglione. Like, my copy of Dick Tracy is so worn to death because I could not, like, that is such a realm. Like, that is such a stylistic, beautiful movie that is so just freaking cool.
oh
And
yeah.
the way
I mean
he created the characters with the makeup and everything is just amazing.
100%. I mean I love when a movie has like a very like discernible iconography, visual style, like visual like world.
Absolutely.
And,
Absolutely.
and I haven't seen Serial Mom, but I did watch like the trailer for it. I've seen the poster, and I like that style, the 1950s looking kind of suburban
Yeah,
niceness
there's
to
always
it.
like a he's very funny, like he has a weird dark humor and like he's always like critiquing things like in society. So like just keep that in mind. But it's like very obvious to see, but I just love the way his brain works. It's just so awesome.
I mean, I've seen so many interviews with John Waters. I need to watch one of his movies.
You do. And like I really recommend if you ever see that like I just went to his Christmas special. I went to his 70 something birthday show. Like he does all these things where he's talking for an hour. He's hilarious. You should go.
Oh yeah, 100%. And it's like I had kind of a similar thing with David Lynch.
Mhm.
I hadn't really watched any of his movies, but I had seen so many interviews of him and just how he talks about art and making art. Uh,
So he's like a prophet in many ways. Like if
he
you,
is.
yeah, like I just really admire not only his brilliant artistry, but the way that he sees the world.
Oh yeah. And I was watching these interviews. And I'm like, okay, I need to watch his movies at some point. And then he had passed away, so I was like, all right, I'm gonna. That night, I sit down and watched Eraserhead, and I was like, holy shit! All right, I'm
Yeah.
into it.
Um, I'm a big fan of the Twin Peaks series. So like is that just aesthetically is so amazing, and then the talk about quirky characters and stuff.
Oh
And
yeah.
my favorite thing, like Damien and I crack up about it, is like he in interviews, people are like, "Oh, can you explain this?" He's like, "No." Like he will never explain anything, and I just
I I
like
have seen
I
that.
thought,
So.
but art is subjective. Like something you see might be completely opposite someone else sees, so you can't over explain everything.
Oh yeah.
Whatever you feel could be accurate.
Oh, Race Race was a spiritual film. Elaborate on that. No, that's great.
I love him.
Oh
He
yeah.
and I is just Damien actually was the one that told me that he passed away because he knew how much he means to me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there was just
Oh,
I'm glad I heard it from Damien. It was like I was very sad. I
wow.
still am, but thankfully he has this stuff that is so timeless and we can go watch it any moment.
Oh yeah. I mean, like right after I watched Razor for the first time, I started Twin Peaks. And I'm still like only a few episodes in, but I'm liking it. I just need to like I like I think it's you would mention something about like watching TV earlier. I kind of relate to that. I can never sit down and like focus too long on like because I do want to watch the next episode, but it's like okay, like when am I gonna have time to sit down and watch another one versus a movie? I'm way more into it.
But I mean, like, especially in this, like, winter time is like my favorite time to try to watch something like that. So it's like, um, yeah, Twin Peaks is really special. And then you did the movie, it was after it, and then the reboot. So, yeah, I definitely recommend if you can to deep dive into that.
Oh, for sure. For sure. It's on the list. Making my way through the David Lynch collection.
Yes.
So I guess one sort of final question I wanted to ask is so for art's costume, it's become so iconic. It's in every Halloween store in America, every Halloween now. But it's stayed pretty much the same throughout, I mean, since the creation of art. Have there been any like subtle changes to the costume as the movie's gone on, or is it really just the same design? Because I mean, there's been movies where the costumes have changed with the sequels, and I didn't even notice. Like, I mean, yeah, like, I heard like Star Wars between New Hope and Empire and Return, there's like different additions to Vader's costume that I never quite picked up on watching the movie. So I'm curious if there's any kind of subtleties in that, or if it really is the same thing
So
coming back.
the design is like very iconic of the character, and that has not changed. Like it's always like the ruffles, the black and white, the two balls,
Hmm.
and the. But from Terrifier 1 to now Terrifier 3, we have because this is like years have gone by. So like there's the only subtle change really is the stiffness of the fabric or the type of fabric we use. And the reason is like even on two, like again, we don't film in sequence, so you need some of them blank just in case. Then you have stunt doubles and things like that. So I think all in all, like I think we had to make 8 to 10 art costumes for this film because of that. And we often run into the problem that even if I go to like the fashion district in New York and get like a whole roll of this fabric, they only have like this roll left. So it's only so much it can make. So sometimes we have to change like whatever fabric we're using. So I would say, because it was a very flimsy one on the first one, the one I had, like a metallic sheen to it too. The ones like 2 and 3 were a little bit stiffer of a spandex type material, a jersey, and it honestly makes the costume look a little more elevated and less like cheap store quality. So yeah, I mean, it really is just stayed the same and Damien's vision for the character. And I just go source the fabrics that we use to make sure that it looks great on camera and that we have enough costumes for all the sequences of blood and everything.
Oh yeah, I dig it. I mean, like I said, it's important to have sequencing because things do get bloody.
Yeah, and then the other thing about blood is like some bloods do wash out, but many don't. And you also like sometimes like don't know until you're in the thick of it. So like, and then you don't want to try washing it and it bleeds because it's going to look horrible and that costume's done. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's like a really chaotic trial and error process. But basically, the more copies you have, the better. And we used
Oh,
every single one that we made. Nicholas is a trooper for making like 10 costumes. Sometimes in like, I was like, I need another one. And then like the probably 10 between Roebuck and um art, like the Santa Claus costume.
oh
So
wow.
there's a lot of work, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, I mean, that's pretty much it for me. Thank you again so much for joining me for this interview. I've had a lot of fun talking
Oh,
about
me
this.
too. Me too.
And
Thank you so much. It's been really awesome.
Of course. Well, thank you. I mean, I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, yeah. And I wish you so much success and luck in your film endeavors as well.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I mean, I hope I could work with you at some point. I mean, clearly Terrifier 2 and 3, they look great. So
Yeah, that would be dope. I would be honored to help create your stories.
absolutely, absolutely. So is there anything you'd like to end on? Anything you want to shout out towards the end or
Um, I'll shout out the whole entire cast and crew and post-production team and sound design, music design of both movies that I've worked on because I know how much blood, sweat, and tears and like, there's a lot of hard work that's not easily acknowledged because it's not seen. But
Mhm.
I just want to know, like, mad love to the Terrifier 2 and Terrifier 3 teams and to especially the fans that, it really, the greatest honor more than any numbers at the box office is that people enjoy it so much that they're cosplaying it, that they're rewatching the movies. That truly means everything. And I guess I will end off on what I said earlier is more creating, less destroying.
100%. We need more art and support indie film, indie horror
Yes,
film.
please support indie
'Cause
film.
one of my favorite quotes that was circulating when Terrifier 3 was making its racking up the numbers at the box office was all the studios want a Terrifier 3, but they don't want to make a Terrifier 1.
Absolutely. And
And
I just got chills when you said that because it's so like true. And the more I work in film, I see this like people are so scared to take chances and things.
yeah, they want the big payoff, but they don't want to put in the work. I mean, Terrifier 1 was a controversial, indie straight to video crowdfunded, piece of art,
But
literally.
absolutely. And the other thing Damien encounters, and he's said it many times, that even when he has people offering to either, give money or like whatever it is, they're also trying to rein him in. And he's like, absolutely not. Like what makes these special is that there's always a line we won't cross, but there's also like no boundaries. So that's what makes
Hmm.
it so special is that like so many people are just playing it safe now. And
Oh
I think
yeah,
there's something to be said about like, trying to draw outside the lines a bit, Yeah. And
100%.
I actually have this quote up in my studio from Banksy, and actually Damien and I were like saying he should have put it at the beginning of Terrifier 2, but he like kind of forgot the edit. So Banksy has this quote that says, art should comfort the disturbed and disturb the comfortable. And we like totally live by that.
I've heard that quote many times, and every time I see it, I 100% believe it.
Yeah, me too. I really think that's the whole purpose of what we're doing. And, try to make us think about everything in our lives a bit.
That quote should be at the start of Terrifier 4, though, because that's kind of perfect.
But I'll try to remind him. Like, don't forget this time, God.
100%. Well, thank you so much again for joining me. I have had an absolute pleasure talking to you about your work, the Terrifier franchise. It's been a blast. So thank you so much again.
Thank you. The pleasure is all mine. And thank you to everyone who submitted questions. It really means so much, truly.
Yes, thank you to the fan questions. We love the fan questions. I
Yes,
always try to
I'm
get
here
as many.
anytime. I'm here anytime to answer any
I,
questions.
I need the fans to do my job for me.
And you
Oh,
did a wonderful job. Thank you.
thank you so much.
Have a great day.
You as well.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in to that very special episode of Talking Terror. As I said, it was an absolute thrill talking to Olga Turka, not just about her work in Terrifier 2 and 3, but her love for film. As you can see in the interview, we went on kind of some kind of off base tangents about filmmakers, filmmaking, watching movies, and absorbing the art form of film. She is such a cinephile, and I loved going on those kind of nerdy tangents with her. Really, really, really sweet guest to have, and I couldn't be more happy with how our interview turned out. And I hope you enjoyed the interview. I really do. Be sure to leave a like on the video if you're watching this on YouTube. Be sure to leave a like. If you did enjoy the episode, leave a comment on what you thought and who you'd like to see next. on another episode. You never know who will come on the show. I've had some crazy luck getting some very great people on this program. I mean, obviously, we've now interviewed Olga Turka, Terrifier 2 and 3. We interviewed Cal Edward Ball. We interviewed the librarian. You've seen that episode. We've had some great people on here, so you never know who will show up next. So be sure to leave a comment on someone you think I should reach out to be on the show. You never know what will happen with that. And if you're listening to this on Spotify, be sure to follow the show. If you're not already, hit like on the episode. I don't know if the Spotify have ratings. I haven't looked too deeply into that, but if they are, give us a good rating. Give Talking Terror a good rating. I mean, if you enjoyed. Um, Once again, I want to touch base on Fangoria, First and Fright since 1979, the very best in horror press, I always say. Um, and you can get yourself a subscription, a one-time subscription. If you're not already subscribed, you can get a one-time subscription with my discount code Jacob D Harper. That's JacobTheHerper, Jacob D Harper, and that'll get you 20% off an entire one-time subscription. Or if you are already subscribed to Fangoria, you're ahead of the curve. You got it. You got it on lock. Then you could still use my discount code Jacob D Harper to get yourself 20% off whatever you can get at the Fangoria merchandise on their website. They have lots of great merch. Like I said at the top of the hour, they have some great like book covers and placements for your Fangoria magazines. Make sure they don't get creased or damaged, which is super important because they are so damn beautiful. Who would want to damage these beautiful, precious magazines? I mean, they are. They just look great on my shelf. They look great on display, and they look great in your hand reading them. Be sure to read your Fangorias. And like I said, they also have like hats, shirts. They have all sorts of merchandise. So if you are already subscribed, you can go ahead and use that discount code Jacob V Harper. That's JacobTheHerper to get yourself 20% off an online order. And that helps me out a lot. I get a little bit off of it, and it helps out the show, helps me out, and helps you out. Gets you some Fangoria, and once again, I mean it's Fangoria, guys. I really can't speak highly of them enough. So be sure to check out that discount code at the link below. Just a kind of final bit of housekeeping. I want to give a shout out to everyone who's been following the social medias and subscribing to the channel lately. We just crossed 100 subscribers on YouTube not too long ago. I don't know if I mentioned that in the last episode or not, but thank you guys so much for the support on the episodes and beyond. I've been trying to get more into making other types of content besides just the podcast, and I'm still going to be working on that as well. So be sure to stay tuned for that. Be sure to stay subscribed to the YouTube channel, and be sure to follow me on all my social medias. I'm very active on Twitter. My Twitter's at Jacob at the Movie. Very active on Instagram, Jacob the Harper. Very active on Facebook, the Jacob Harper. It's all the same profile picture, except for Instagram. Instagram is a different profile picture. Nonetheless, be sure to follow all the social medias. I have others. They'll all be linked down below. And yeah, that's a bit. That's about it from me, guys. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode. I hope you enjoyed. Peace.